votes in procedure of Wednesday, 21st November 2018. Page 1037, 1038, 1039, 1040, 1041, 1042, 1043, 1044, 1045, 1046, 1047, 1048, 1049, 1050, 1051, 1052, 1053, 1054. Senator Gbenga Shafa, Lagos East.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Gbenga Shafa, representing Lagos East. I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st of November 2018 be approved. I so move.
Senator Samayan, Imo East.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Samayan, Imo East. I rise to second the motion, heavily moved by Senator Shafa, that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st November 2018 be approved. I so second, Mr. President.
The Senator those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st November 2018 be approved, say aye. Those against say nay. There is a votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st November 2018 is hereby approved. Announcement. I wish to acknowledge the presence of staff and students of White Plains British School, Jabi, Abuja. Staff and students of Tuvikas Global Academy, Akwa, Niger State. And staff and students of Porters Field Academy, Wanalada in Abuja. We are all in a gallery to observe the proceedings. I wish you all fruitful observations of the Senate proceedings. You may now sit down. Thank you. Leader of the Senate. Petition, Senator Odia.
Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Clifford Odia, representing the Edo Central Senatorial District. I have a petition from a member of my constituent against Vorin and Chevron Nigeria Limited over refusing to keep the terms of engagement in a pipe coating contract. So to the best of my knowledge, Mr. President, this matter is not in court. So permit me, I'll come and do it.
Yes, come and read the report. Reports refer to, petitions refer to ethics and privileges for back in 2 weeks. Senator Batakwan.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleagues, Mr. President, I come under Order 43, Mr. President. By your leave, can I please read?
A senator may make a personal explanation, although there be no question before the Senate. But no controversial matter may be brought before the Senate, nor debates arise upon the explanation. Mr. President, just yesterday, Mr. President, I came here with a point of order, Mr. President, intimating the Senate, Nigerians and the global community about the state on Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly. Mr. President, this constitution is very clear on the tenets of democracy in Nigeria. The only symbol of democratic governance is the House of Assembly, whether it is national or at the state level. Mr. President, as I speak with you, policemen are still in the presence of the House of Assembly. No member of staff, no Akwa Ibomite have been allowed entry. Mr. President, this Senate owes the people of Akwa Ibom State a duty and a responsibility. We must direct that the police vacate the presence of National State House of Assembly. We cannot shy away from our responsibilities. The Committee on Police must visit Akwa Ibom. I must establish the right to Mr. President. This power belongs to God and not any man. You cannot intimidate and coerce the people of Akwa Ibom State for nothing. If you have any issues against the state, Mr. President, election is just around the corner. Wait until the elections. Then we will see who wins Akwa Ibom. The police must vacate the presence of the House of Assembly, Mr. President. I cannot keep my mouth shut. This is not right. It is not democratic. It is tyranny.
Thank you very much, Senator Albert Bassi. You inform under personal explanation, which of course we cannot, because of that, cannot have a debate or contribution to this. But the importance of this matter, I think it depends on whether you still want to come to 43, we take it, but don't forget yesterday also we had directed the committee on police. But my view, I'll take guidance from our members, is that this matter is constitutional, is very important, and I think it would be advisable maybe you come under 42 and 52, so that other members too can contribute on it. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm very sorry for my outburst. The President, let me come under order 42, 43, and 52. 42 and 52, Mr. President. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before the commencement of the day's sitting. And the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claims unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite, urgent, and important.
Distinguished colleagues, I think as by rules of our book, we need leave of our members for us to take this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead, Senator Basiakwa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, let me first of all apologize for my outburst, Mr. President. And Mr. President, just yesterday...
Yeah, hold on. Senator Ali, point of order.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I come under Order 10. Quorum, with the permission I read. The quorum of the Senate shall be 1/3 of the members of the Senate. Mr. President, I've just signed the register. I'm number 25. And no other senator has signed after me. So I believe we have not formed the quorum. And it is very unfortunate. Look at it, the chamber is virtually empty. The register is there, Mr. President. Anybody who's arguing, the register is there. We can go and check it. I'm number 25. Yeah, I'm the last to sign the register. This is very, very embarrassing. Well,
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator, from my own county here, I'm from discussion with the clerk, we are 33 now. So we are from the quorum. We're 39, and my mathematics is very good. Okay. All right. How about carry on?
Thank you, Mr. President. My most distinguished and respected colleagues, Mr. President, let me first of all apologize for my outburst, Mr. President. Mr. President, yesterday I came and I informed the Senate, Mr. President, and I came with a motion that the police be asked to vacate the premises of Akwa Ibom House of Assembly. Mr. President, we have it on good authority that the intention of this invasion is to impeach the governor of Akwa Ibom State. There is no way in the history of our democracy, Mr. President, that a 5-member House Assembly can impeach a speaker and thereafter go ahead to impeach a governor. And we are calling on the Senate, Mr. President, that as we speak, despite the directive of this Senate yesterday, the police is still within the premises of the House of Assembly of Akwa Ibom State. No member of staff, no indigene of the state, no member of the State House of Assembly has been allowed entrance into the House of Assembly. And we have it on good authority that the 5 members of the House of Assembly are at the verge of being moved into the presence of the House of Assembly to impeach the governor of the Akwa Ibom State. I therefore call on my distinguished colleagues that what is morally wrong cannot be politically correct, Mr. President. We owe this country a duty, Mr. President, to ensure that the right thing gets done. An injury to Akwa Ibom State is an injury to Nigeria. I therefore call on the attention of this Senate, Mr. President, that the police must be asked to vacate the premises of the House of Assembly forthwith, without any further delay, Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Keita.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's separate the rhetorics from the facts. The reason why the police are invited there is to keep the peace. Everybody knows, we are all aware that there was fracas. He even mentioned it days ago, arising from litigation that is to be given by the courts, not somebody outside interpreting the court's issues. And if the police vacate there and the other members goes in with their supporters, there is going to be fracas in that place. And we all know this. It has happened in so many assemblies. So the police are there to maintain the peace. They are not there to, they are not interested in the seat of the speaker or the impeachment of the governor. This is total, this is untrue. It's not true that there is anything like that. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, you can find out, yesterday I intimated you that even the reference of the court order, the judgment that he is talking about, it has a different interpretation. And it's only the court that can interpret the judgment. So how can 5-man committee membership remove a sitting speaker? That is one aspect of it. The second, sir, we have to be very careful. It's a double-edged sword when we are talking of these things. One, it could be that we are trying to intimidate people politically. The other one is that if you allow things to go the way you are or to suit our interests, then we end up in a bigger problem. So please, let us first of all, as a Senate, verify the fact of this matter. Let us not go with the rumors. Let us then find out what is the real issues. The court judgment asked those people to vacate their seat, and if they did, when was that court order given? So that from that time we will now know what is happening in otherwise we will continue to go around in circle. But the most important key aspect is that should we allow anything to go on unchecked in that assembly, it's the same Senate here that will be addressing that we don't have peace in Akwa Ibom assembly. So we have to be very careful in what we are doing, please.
Distinguished colleagues, I think the discussion or the issue really is about the police occupying the premises of the House of Assembly. I agree with you. I agree with you entirely. The issue of the court, whether the court gave powers, did not give powers, one side or the other, we have already directed the committee on police. But I think the issue really that we should, I would say, we leave our discussion to and be guided by those years is where legally and lawfully the police have the right to occupy the premises of the assembly and prevent the assembly from functioning according to the powers. That's the simple. The other issues he has raised, I think we have already passed that on to the committee. Yes, the Senator Porker.
Mr. President, Senator Porker Emmanuel is my name. I want to speak clearly in line with what you just spoke on. The issue here, if you watch at that film, I had the privilege of seeing the film on the telly. It's a very sordid situation in Akwa Ibom State. Here is a situation you see the Commissioner of Police leading a group into the assembly. And within a twinkle of some minutes, the so-called speaker sat. And then you see scanty about 3 or 4 members on the floor. In as much as we are saying that we should not go into details as to the merits or merits of the matter, the issue is to whether the police have the right to go and see a parliament. We have witnessed a situation here where we were barred from entering these premises, and all of us felt that pain. We felt that pain vividly. We trekked from the gates inside here. In fact, I was not sitting. So let us call a spade a spade. To me, what is paramount here is for this House, irrespective of political leanings, to come as one entity and ask the police to leave the premises of the State Assembly and allow the Assembly to sit. I don't believe the police have the right. They have been there since yesterday, over 24 hours, sealing the state parliament. If care is not taken, we are running to a situation where this democracy can't be hindered. The police definitely have no right. And if we allow this to happen, one day we'll be here and we'll be sealed. And we cannot access this floor. Democracy, from what we have witnessed from yesterday till now, we talk about the issue of Kwara, we talk about the issue of other states, the police are biting more than what they can chew. And I think we have to nip it at the bud. I think let us resolve, as parliamentarians, that the police should leave that premises. Parliament should solve the problem of parliament. Executive should solve the problem of executive. There are sufficient security problems in this country why the police can go and solve. It's not going to seal a state assembly. I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Samayo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. Sam Ayamu, Imo East. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I just want to join my colleague, Senator Porker, on this issue. There are critical questions we would like that demands an answer. Mr. President, I was just going through the social media yesterday, and I discovered that the Commissioner of Police, the former Commissioner of Police, CP John Aban, who had just stayed only 1 month in Akwa Ibom, was just transferred because of this issue. And I think that it is important, too, Mr. President, we have a committee on states and local governments. I think in such matters, the committee on states and local governments should join the committee on police to do this investigation. And Mr. President, the parliament is the organ of government that does laws for the good governance of that state. And if there will be any police invasion, I'm sure that the governor of the state is the chief security officer of that state. And for that reason, if there be any issue of a siege of police to the parliament, it must be at the instance of the governor of the state. But by the situation where the governor of the state, who is the chief secretary of state, is not aware and only want to see police invade the state assembly one early morning, I think it is not acceptable, Mr. President. I think that what we should do, we have this has become so rampant. We witnessed that in Benue State. It's not good, Mr. President. Let us believe that if there are infights among members within the chambers, it is the parliamentary business. It does not call for police to come inside or bring in talks, from what I have read. We have had a situation where we are here in this chamber, somebody brought in talks here and took away our mess. We have been here, police laid a siege on us and never allowed us to enter this chamber. Mr. President, this is a democracy, and we should defend this democracy. And the parliament all over, the legislature all over the world, is the people that defend democracy of that state. Where there is no legislature, there is no democracy. So I think it is important we look at this issue. If there's internal wrangling among members, that should not warrant police to come in and disrupt the activities of the legislature. Because we have staff working in that particular area. So what it means that nobody goes in and comes out. And when we speak in this chamber, Mr. President, we should speak as statesmen. We should live above board. We should live above party sentiment. We are our party positions. We should speak as leaders in this country and condemn what is condemnable. I think that this siege on the State Assembly of Akwa Ibom is condemnable, and we must look into it. So I plead that the Committee on States and Local Government should also be included to operate with the Committee on Police and right away move into Akwa Ibom and see what they can do to stop that immediately. I think that will be very, very important, Mr. President. And we should stop this. Election is approaching. Let it not be because it's politics. Everything cannot be politics. We should know that people are watching. We should live beyond politics because there's still tomorrow. This is my contribution, Mr. President. Thank you.
Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. I have tried the much I can to restrain myself from commenting on this matter, but it appears it has become very convenient to speak in respect of this matter. I remember yesterday when distinguished Senator Akwa brought this matter, we agreed that it was urgent and important enough for us to set the Committee on Police to investigate the matter and report back to the Senate. We have no reason whatsoever to doubt our colleague if he raised the same matter today, alleging certain issues that before this Senate cannot be verified. For example, the issue as to whether police, the reason for the police presence in the Akwa Ibom assembly cannot be deciphered at this moment because we don't even know. The police committee has not reported back us to tell us what exactly is happening there. So we cannot act on speculation, sir, to take a decision that we know may not be in the overall interest of the integrity of the Senate. So my advice is that in his motion, in his speech, he has already requested that the Committee on Police visit Akwa Ibom today. So let the committee start going to Akwa Ibom, then report back to us before we can proceed with the matter. That is my own thinking. Otherwise, we have nothing before us to justify us taking any decision or any resolution in respect of this matter, Mr. President. So I think that the proper thing to do is to direct the Committee on Police to go and come back with a report that we can rely upon, sir. Thank you very much.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I don't intend to repeat what my colleagues have said. I will simply draw our attention to what the law says. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, these chambers, together with our sister chamber, the House of Representatives, passed a law called
the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act 2017. It was duly signed by the President of the Republic, President Buhari, and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it is a law of this country, still operational. I'll just read one or two sections to be able to draw home essentially what is necessary to be done at this instance. Section 8 says, a member of a legislative house shall not be obstructed or hindered from gaining entrance into the legislative chambers. This includes houses of assemblies. And a person who hinders the movement of a member of a legislative house into the chambers or premises of a legislative house, or who interferes or disobeys the order given by an officer of a legislative house in performing his official functions, or who creates any disturbance which interrupts or is likely to interrupt the proceedings of a legislative house, commits an offense and is liable on conviction a fine not exceeding 100,000 or a term of imprisonment for 6 months or both. And an officer of the legislative house may, with or without an order from court and warrant of arrest, as provided in schedule to this act, arrest any person who commits an offense contrary to the provisions of this act. Sir, the society, including our own, hold dearly the sanctity of the legislative house. And they believe, essentially, that that democracy can only thrive where we have a legislative house, a parliament, whatever name so called. And until we begin to respect this view, then we must be threatening our democracy. So it is wrong, I submit, sir, for any authority whatsoever to try to stop members from sitting or stop a member from going to the job for which has been elected by his people. And that is basically why this law was enacted. And the president did not waste time in signing this into law. So I believe that police authorities not need to know that whoever is stopping the legislative house in the Akwa Ibom or members from sitting is risking 6 months imprisonment. And the speaker of that parliament can on his own arrest everybody who is there, or that for the arrest who is trying to stop them from doing their work. That is what our law provides. So I think that this step must be taken to ensure that this aspect of our law is implemented. There are other very noble provisions in this act, and I suggest that every member of this house, and possibly every member of the legislative in Nigeria, should arm himself with this piece of legislation. It is something that will safeguard our democracy. It will safeguard the sanctity of the hallowed chambers of the legislative houses. So I think, my colleagues, that this is time for us to stand up for our democracy. It does not matter which party is involved. It does not matter which level of government is involved. It does not matter which part of Nigeria it is involved. Our democracy will be at risk if we keep quiet in matters that concern one part of Nigeria, and because it doesn't concern us, and then we now think that it's all good. I think it's now for us to stand up for our democracy, to ensure that the correct thing is being done. It may be Akwa Ibom today, it may be understate tomorrow. So I submit that we need to ensure that the members of the State House of Assembly Akwa Ibom will be given a conducive atmosphere to sit and do the legislative business for which they are elected.
Distinguished colleagues, I think this matter is a very straightforward matter. And I think the prayer is a very straightforward prayer, asking the police to vacate the premises and not prevent the legislators from having access to the chambers. And I think so it's one single prayer, and I'll put the question. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, honestly, this matter, distinguished colleagues, this is a very serious matter that I think it is a matter that we should not treat on a partisan matter. Where whichever chamber that involves, I think an issue where the action to us, to any who loves democracy, is a threat to it, is an action that is against a law that exists. members of parliament should have access. Police can provide law and order without necessarily preventing members of parliament to have access. And the police have the responsibility to maintain law and order, but at the same time, parliamentarians must have access to the chambers. It's a bad precedent if we allow this to happen now or in future at any time, where the police can seal a parliament for more than 24 hours. It is not something we should be part of. It is not something we should support. And irrespective of whoever is involved, I think we should stand for prosperity on the right side of history. The police should vacate but still provide necessary security that the parliamentarians should have access into the chambers there or any part of the country where we have parliaments. Leader of the Senate.
Point of order.
Point of order, Senator Dambaba.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come under order 14 and 15.
What privilege?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President.
What privilege?
Mr. President, we are all elected by our various constituents to come and represent them here, and also by extension to represent the entire people of Nigeria. We, as senators, are supposed to have our roles that we need to play in the National Assembly. Fundamentally, we are supposed to legislate. We are also supposed to represent our constituents and also undertake oversight with respect to projects that are being executed by the executive arm of government. I want to say, Mr. President, that a committee that I am a vice, which has been constituted over 3 years ago, has not been actually performing as a result of weak leadership. The committee, Mr. President, since its inception and constitution, we have never been to oversight. We have not oversighted any army project. In fact, the only oversight that could have been said to be oversight was our visit to the Army headquarters in 2016. Beyond that, we have never done or undertaken any proper oversight with respect to the activities of the Nigerian Army. In fact, Mr. President, the Senate is completely detached from the Nigerian Army. We in the Senate do not know what the Nigerian Army is actually doing. I want to say this again. There was a draft bill that was referred to the committee about 2 years ago. That draft bill is still lying down on the secretariat, on the table of the clerk of the secretariat of the committee, because the leadership of the committee has not been able to give direction as to what to do with the bill. So, Mr. President, in view of all these anomalies, I hereby call for the ethics. My prayer is that the Ethics and Privileges Committee be asked to investigate, conduct an investigation as to the conduct of the committee and why the committee leadership should be allowed to stand as it is, because the name of the Senate is going to be brought into disrepute, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Dambaba. I know that for you to have brought this matter up, this must be something that is of great concern to you, but at the same time, what I would consider is let the leader of the Senate call the leadership of the two senators, look into the matter, and report back to us after discussing with both the chairman and the vice chairman of the two committees. Okay, chairman and the vice chairman of the committee, and members, and then report back to us on some of these points that have been raised by Senator Dambaba. The committee is a very strategic committee, and as such, we must be seen to be playing his own role. Actually, on that point, let me also, I observed that, I think we're all aware that 4 days ago, was it 5 days ago, we lost about 44 brave soldiers of the Nigerian army in northern Borno. I don't think it was raised here on any motion for us to pay our respect for these brave men that have sacrificed and made the ultimate sacrifice for our own safety, for peace in our country. And I think if you permit, I think there are 2 or 3 prayers we should do here. One is to pay our respect and 1 minute silence for those men in the military. This is a very serious matter, and I think we should show some respect on the issue that we're discussing here. Senator Albert, please can you go and take the second point also. I believe that as a prayer is also for the Committee on Army or Defense to also, pay a condolence visit to the family of some of these that unfortunately lost their lives from this attack. If somebody, deputy leader, can raise this too, and we take past the motions on them. Thank you.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, grant me the privilege of moving under Order 42 to move a motion for the Senate to take judicial notice of the fact that about 5 days ago, a camp in Maiduguri was attacked by Boko Haram, and we were reported to have lost about 44 soldiers.
Let me just quickly take the leave of our members so that we can just take, distinguished colleagues, take the leave. Let me ask you leave for under 42 and 52 for us to take this motion. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Carry on, Deputy Leader.
Well, let me start, Mr. President, by telling you that by bringing to the notice of the Senate that Lieutenant Colonel Sakaba is my cousin, and he was the head of that team that was attacked, and he lost his life. And unfortunately, sir, he was one of the most dedicated soldiers I've ever met, not because he's my relation, but because I knew from his commission as lieutenant to his second lieutenant, to his rise to become a lieutenant colonel, what he has gone through and what he has done as his contribution to the Nigerian army. But the souls of these soldiers is dear to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, more so when they died in active service. Mr. President, in other jurisdictions, this kind of soldiers have the privilege of the parliament to have certain issues relating to their family that they have left behind being taken care of by the nation itself. In fact, that's why earlier in the life of this Senate, I brought a bill, the Nigerian Army Comfort Bill, which is still awaiting second reading, and I urge that we seize this opportunity in honor of those who lost their lives to even bring it up next week so that we can push it
to begin to take care of this situation. And in view of this, I urge my colleagues to grant us the permission to pray that this Senate have 1 minute silence in honor of the departed souls, and then an additional prayer, sir, that the circumstances under which these soldiers lost their life is so pathetic that it calls for a special consideration from federal government to the families of those who lost their lives. I am therefore adding an additional prayer that, sir, they should be honored by this nation for this gallantry exhibition of gallantry, sir. And I so move. Thank you very much, sir.
And Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I must admit, I'm sure I do so on behalf of most of us here, that if not that the figure came from you, I wouldn't have taken it seriously. Because to lose 40 soldiers in a day is very serious. It's taking Nigeria a lot of money to train those soldiers. Every responsible country in this world take the death of one soldier very seriously because they represent the best in us. Somebody who commits himself, his life, to die for others so that they may live. Not considering what happened to his children, his wife. And most time when they die, nobody cares about those people, those loved ones. And that's why this matter was very, very serious. To lose 40 of them in one day should be a matter of concern. I'm not sure we're taking good care of the safety of our soldiers. I think we're just throwing them on harm's way and nobody cares. Nobody cares what happens to their families when they die. They are just mere statistics. And it's our responsibility as a parliament to ask the correct questions because they are there fighting for each and every one of us. As I said earlier, it may be happening in Burundi, but because it's been happening in Burundi, that's why we're here. Because those soldiers may not stop them and they will invade all of us here. It's because they are fighting in Burundi, that's why people are still in Lagos. That's why we're still in Enugu. So any person, no matter where you are in this country, must be of concern regarding the safety of those soldiers. And I think time has come for us to take this matter seriously. It's not just sitting here and say we're doing 1 minute silence. What happened to those of them who are there who may die tomorrow? We need to find out exactly what measures are being put in place to protect these people. What are instruments are available to them? What are the weapons available to them? Is any person paying them their allowances? Are we just putting them there? Do they get any holiday whatsoever? Nobody answers these questions. So it's either we allow our committee on the defense to do the correct thing, or set up another committee to ask the correct questions. Unless we do that, this will continue to happen. And God forbid that we should keep quiet. So I join our brother in asking that we must do something about this. And it's a pity that this is happening in our own time. May their souls rest in peace.
Leader of the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, very distinguished and respected colleagues. Mr. President, this is a very sad development. And of course, when you sign up for the military, you are in essence saying and accepting that you could even lay down your life. But we always pray that nobody dies. Mr. President, I served at one time as chairman Senate Committee on Defense, and that's when I came closest to the military. This is one segment of our society that we need to do much for, especially given the sacrifice they have been making in this country for a long time. Mr. President, perhaps it is time that our committees, the armed forces related committees, Defense, Army, Navy, Air Force, and even the national intelligence start to pay surprise visits to where our armed forces are protecting or fighting for us. Surprise visits, not in large numbers. This is because we could get better and more genuine and correct information on the situations of those who are fighting. It may not be enough that we engage the top brass in Abuja or in Kaduna or in Lagos. Actually, in addition to boosting morale for them, we will be able to also intervene properly by knowing what they actually need to fight safely. This is very important. Just like the Deputy Senate President said, what type of equipment, weapons do they have? How are they protected? We had at one point, some 3-4 years, no, maybe 5 years back, mutiny in Maiduguri, when some soldiers were asked to go out to fight. They decided not to go out to fight, but to shoot their commander then, in protest because they didn't have the requisite weapons and arms to go and fight. So it's very important that we pay surprise visits. And where someone dies for the sake of us, for the rest of us to live, Mr. President, we should be concerned how such a person's family is catered for. This will give some kind of confidence in those who are fighting for us that when the inevitable happens, when someone loses his life fighting, his family doesn't suffer. I think this Senate, and indeed future Senate, should be particularly concerned about the welfare of soldiers who are fighting for Nigeria. And unfortunately for us, almost all our soldiers are fighting. There's hardly any reserve now because we are in 34 states going through this operation or the other, internal insurgency and so on. So we need to create something that will enable these armed forces to have the confidence. In fact, maybe our armed forces related committees should even think beyond what we do these days and create something. Maybe armed forces there for us within the period that we wear this emblem. Something that allows us to interact with those at the top as well as the ones down, so that we're able to balance the information we get from the top with the information that we could get from those at the lower ranks. We pray that the Almighty God will pose their very gentle souls in his bosom. Thank you very much for the privilege.
Senator Lidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Joshua Lidani. I represent Kombi South. Mr. President, this news is coming at a very critical time for all of us in this country. And I think we in the Senate or in the National Assembly generally have not done what we ought to do in order to identify with the soldiers that are on the war front. I remember about 2 years ago, at the request of the army, a few of us were selected to accompany them to Sambisa. We went to Sambisa and saw how the soldiers were operating. We saw them in the various villages where they have been attacked, and we felt for them seriously. I thought that such visits should have been encouraged so that we should go and visit the soldiers at the war front, see how they are faring, see under the circumstances in which they are operating, and see how we can be able to assist them. Unfortunately, we have not been doing that. Mr. President, all of us have relations in the army. We keep hearing reports from them about what is going on. There is definitely problem of welfare of the soldiers fighting at war front. There is also problem of understatement of the casualty figures of soldiers who are dying. It's more than that, the figures we are being given. So definitely, Mr. President, there are certain things that are going on wrong in this fight against insurgency and among our armed forces generally. And we ought to have taken a greater interest in seeing or identifying with the army and sharing with them their pains and their anguishes. So I think, Mr. President, we need to engage our various committees to do more. By visiting them, it will be difficult for us to say we make a surprise visit to soldiers fighting at the war front, because going there itself will require the soldiers escorting the senators. We are not just ordinary citizens. But if we go there and we demand to have executive session with them, they will open up and tell us their problems. So I think we need to do a lot more, Mr. President. We need to sympathize with them. We need to engage with them. We need to visit with them, because we are behaving as if there is no war going on in this country. War is going on. Even by visiting the civilians that are affected, the refugee camps, how many times? I remember, Mr. President, you went and visited the refugee camp some time back. But since then, we have not done any other thing in order to ensure that the soldiers that are fighting are given the right equipment, like the Deputy Senate President has said. So I support this motion, and I think it calls for urgent action on the part of the Senate for us to do something about the plight of our men and women in uniform, so that they can be able to fight this fight and finish. It has taken how many years now fighting an insurgency? How many years did it take us to fight the civil war? 3 years. But now we have an insurgency that is restricted to only one section of this country, and it has taken us over 5 years, and we have not seen an end to it. Something is going on wrong, Mr. President, and we need to do something about it. I thank you.
Senator Jimmy.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, today is a very sad day, very, very sad day, because in a country where we have reduced numbers of people who are fighting to protect us, and then we lose 40 of them in one day. And that is the official figure. That might not be the real figure. Mr. President, it is really a sad day. It only means our priorities are upside down, because these people are the reason for which we can do what we're doing, even here in Abuja. Right now, what we hear from government is that Boko Haram has been sufficiently curtailed. But when we hear that in one day, 40 young men and women who are from all our various states have been killed, then there is something government is not telling us. We are talking about oversight. Today, we spoke about oversight. There is a need for this Senate to insist that oversight must be undertaken immediately. And that is on our side. On the part of government, government must come out with the truth about insurgency. We must know what we are facing. We must also know the conditions of the people who are fighting for us. We must know how they are being taken care of. There is a reason for us now, Mr. President, to sit down together as an entity to ensure that this insurgency does not spread. The only way it won't spread is if we have the entire truth on the table and we're able to tackle it properly. Government must sit up and be able to tell us what we need to do to help them, because we can't keep losing young men and women as we are doing. I pray that their families will be able to find succor in the fact that they have died for all of us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, I know at this time is always, I always have a Herculean task in trying to keep various important issues here along non-partisan views before. I think the points have been made, the majority leader has spoken, the minority leader has spoken. Let me just go to the prayers so that it's something that it affects all of us. It's a sad event, and let us talk as elder statesmen and keep it like that. Prayer one was 1 minute silence in honor of the soldiers who lost their lives in Maiduguri. Prayer two, let me just read the prayers, and then a committee of the Senate, Army to pay a condolence visit on both the families of the deceased soldiers and of course the Chief of Army Staff. Number three is to mandate the Committee on Defense and Army to investigate the cause of this law and adequate measures being taken to protect our military officers. So I'll take the prayers one by one, and if there's any amendment to it, we can take. First amendment is 1 minute silence in honor of these soldiers that lost their lives in this attack. Yes. Senator Chindu.
Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I have no reasons to doubt the figure. But if that figure is correct, Mr. President, this Senate must come out and show massive concern, not just by 1 minute silence. We must shut down one whole day in memory of these fallen heroes. That's my suggestion, and that's my prayers. Amendment. Instead of 1 minute silence. Additional prayer, Mr. President. An additional prayer. Well, I want to amend this. If we say 1 minute, Mr. President, to me, it looks as if we are not serious. Remember, some few weeks ago, a member moved that instead of 1 minute, 2 minutes. But I am saying instead of 1 minute, we must shut down one whole day in honor of these fallen heroes.
Okay, let's first take those in favor of prayer one, that 1 minute silence in honor of the soldiers that lost their lives in this attack. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer two, a committee of the Senate to pay a condolence visit to the Chief of Army Staff and to the families of the deceased soldiers. The Army Senate Committee on Army to pay a condolence visit on the families of deceased and Chief of Army Staff. Those in favor of prayer two say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer three, mandate the committees on defense and army to investigate the causes of the loss and if adequate measures being taken to protect our military officers. Those in favor of prayer three say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer. Oh yeah, okay, Senator Chindu, yes.
Mr. President, an additional prayer. I believe that with this whole number in one fell swoop, the Senate, in honor of the fallen heroes, should shut down proceedings for one whole day. Maybe this will make some sense in the system.
Any seconder? Senator Samayan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Sam Anyanwu Imo East. I rise to second the motion on amendment, additional prayer moved by Senator Ochendo that the Senate shut for a day in honor of these 44 soldiers who died while protecting Nigerians. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the additional prayers, the Senate should suspend the plenary today in honor of the soldiers that died in this attack. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Additional prayer, Deputy Whip.
Mr. President, the Segway called additional prayers that the Senate should visit the fighting force so as to give them the morale. By then we will know exactly what is happening at the war front.
Yes.
No.
Second, Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to second this, and I'm happy that we have ex-soldiers here who will lead, who will be in front, including Francis. Yes. Jang is here, and Husseini. So I think it's a good thing to do. And Yako, they should lead from the front. We should visit. Not only for a day.
Let me put the question, additional prayer that the Senate should visit our soldiers at the war front. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer, Senator Shosani.
Mr. President, the additional prayer I have is that every senator should adopt one family of the deceased soldiers.
What of the kidnapped family? Marafa.
Senator Shosani, I can't hear you.
Every senator here should adopt one family of the soldiers that were killed. Yes. The second additional prayer is that instead of shutting down,
Senator Shosani, please speak as a ranking senator. Speak as a...
I'm not. Mr. President, additional prayer is that there should be contribution. There should be financial contribution to the families of the deceased.
Yes.
Thank you. No amount. I can give any amount.
Any second to that prayer? Yes, who's Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I remain Muhammad Adam Alero, representing KB Central. Mr. President, the additional prayer I want to propose is that government should pay more attention to the welfare and well-being of both the servicemen and also ex-servicemen in order to restore confidence of our soldiers. Because we have been talking so much about it, but it has not been reflected in our prayers.
Can you repeat the prayer again? Sorry.
The additional prayer is that the government should pay particular attention to the welfare and well-being of both the servicemen and also the ex-servicemen in order to restore the confidence of our armed forces.
Mr. President, I am Senator Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, I stand to second the motion moved by Senator Mohamed Adam Alero as for an additional prayer. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, I put the question in. Those in favor of the government amendment what's the amendment?
Mr. President, I want to amend that prayer because he's talking about building confidence
and welfare of the soldiers. I'm adding that in course of ensuring that the welfare of soldiers are paramount, the military hierarchy should be respected, because that is also eroding the confidence of the military and leading to mutiny as I speak, that where officers who already reached the age of retirement are still being retained while their juniors are being retired. Because it's also talking about the confidence of the soldiers. So I'm adding that morale, the morale of the soldiers should be maintained by ensuring that hierarchy is maintained. Those who are due should go.
Because see those chiefs refuse to go.
Distinguished colleagues, let us rise to first, 1 minute silence in honor of the soldiers who lost their lives in Maiduguri. May their dead souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.
Whip. Talk now, talk. Order, please. The distinguished colleagues. Order, please. The distinguished colleagues. That is.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, based on one of our resolutions that the Senate do adjourn today, not Tuesday, do adjourn today in commemoration of our soldiers who were killed, 44 of them. I therefore move that we stand down to consideration of all the items on the order paper till another legislative day. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we stand down all issues on the order paper today in memory of the 44 soldiers that we lost their lives. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very respected colleagues, having stood down all the items on the order paper, I move that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday next week, being the 27th of November 2018 at 10 a.m. prompt.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate do now adjourn to 27th of November, Tuesday at 10 a.m. prompt. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is here accordingly adjourned to Tuesday, 27th November 2018, 10 a.m. prompt.
Thank you for being part of this concise and precise plenary for today. We want to especially thank you for that. We have actually a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that will be talking with us. Distinguished.
Yes, please.
I want to especially thank you, and of course, you were passionate about this. We want to thank the Senate for humbly taking today off, to honor the fallen heroes.
Yeah.
So, what has been established to see that this thing does not surface any longer at the Senate?
Well, like the Senate has decided, actually, we have so far taken a number of measures that we believe will be bring about some kind of deterrent to the occurrence of this matter again. So we have taken steps, inshallah, to avoid the occurrence of this matter in future.
So we are very optimistic that this whole, incident will never surface itself any longer.
You see, partly that was why I raised a point of order. Partly the Committee on Army, honestly, I will have to say that the leadership of that committee has not been up to its own responsibilities. I know as vice chairman of that committee, I have made attempts several times to make sure that we paid visit to our troops, but actually it has been blocked severally. But I was left with no option rather than to bring this on the floor of the Senate so that the leadership of the Senate can find a lasting solution to this problem.
Thank you so very much for your vibrancy.
Thank you.
Yes, it's on this note we want to especially thank you for being part of today's plenary. We want to believe that next week you'll be with us until we come your way again. I am Christy Awudage saying goodbye.